Everyone thinks jealous people are easy to spot. They imagine someone obviously bitter, cold, short with you, passive-aggressive, clearly uncomfortable when something good happens in your life. But the truth is far more dangerous than that. The most dangerous jealous people rarely look jealous. They don't yell in your face. They don't always openly oppose you. They don't always act like they hate you. They smile. They ask questions. They sound interested. They sound normal. Sometimes they even sound like they're on your side. And then, with one question so light, so small, so ordinary, they do something huge. They make your joy drop. They make your win sound like something that needs to be explained. They make you start wondering if maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you're moving too fast. Maybe you're shining too brightly. Maybe you're becoming the kind of person who makes other people uncomfortable. And here's the most dangerous part of all. Smart jealousy doesn't try to knock you down all at once. It only needs to make you smaller, a little less confident, a little less relaxed, a little less willing to fully own your joy. That's enough, because from that moment on, you start doing the rest of the work for them. You explain yourself, you apologize, you downplay your achievement, you dim your own light, just to make the room feel less awkward. A lot of people are not pulled down by obvious hatred. They are pulled down by questions polite enough that they don't feel allowed to react strongly, but sharp enough to knock them off center. And once you start seeing that pattern, you never hear those questions the same way again. So if you want to build an inner core strong enough that no one can quietly make you smaller anymore, subscribe now, because in this video, I'm going to show you 5 kinds of questions jealous people almost always use, what they're really trying to get from you when they ask them, and how to respond in a way that is short, steady, calm, not defensive, and gives them not one extra drop of power. But the deeper we go, the more you'll start seeing something even bigger than those 5 questions. The real trap is not the question itself. It's the reaction they're trying to pull out of you. And once you understand that, you won't just learn how to recognize jealous people. You'll learn how to stop shrinking yourself just to make other people comfortable. A person who is genuinely happy for you usually leaves you feeling lighter after the conversation. You feel lifted. You feel easier in your own skin. You feel like you can keep being yourself without needing to edit your energy. But jealous people often do the opposite while still sounding very nice. They use a soft tone, a calm face, curiosity that seems harmless. They don't hold the knife by the blade. They wrap the blade in velvet, and when the conversation ends, you don't feel encouraged. You feel off. A little self-conscious. A little guarded. A little more likely to explain yourself. A little more likely to pull back. A little more likely to say less about the thing that made you happy. That is not random. Jealous people do not always want to openly come against you. A lot of the time, they don't even want to look like they're bothered by you. What they want is to test your nervous system. They want to know, if I touch this lightly, will they shake? They want to know whether your confidence really stands on its own, or whether one well-placed sentence is enough to tilt it. This is the part a lot of people miss. Many questions are not designed to understand you. They are designed to measure how easy you are to destabilize. Think about it. You bring good news. Instead of being celebrated, you get questioned. You make progress. Instead of being encouraged, you get hit with suspicion. You become stronger, clearer, happier, and instead of being respected, you suddenly feel like something about you is wrong. And the dangerous part is this: if their tone is soft enough, most people will instantly gaslight themselves. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe they didn't mean it like that. Maybe it was just a normal question. Sometimes that's true. But a lot of the time, your body notices something your mind is still trying to excuse. Your stomach tightens. Your mind suddenly feels the need to explain. Your joy starts feeling like something that needs permission to exist. That feeling is a signal. Jealous people usually do not want to beat you through a big public battle. They want you to quietly betray your own energy in small moments. They want you to lower your volume, lower your brightness, lower the importance of what's going well in your life. And once you start doing that yourself, they don't have to do anything else. If you've ever walked away from a normal question and somehow felt smaller afterward, type 1 the comments, because a lot of people have lived inside this pattern for years without ever having language for it. But this is only the first layer, because once they test whether you are easy to shake, jealous people often do something very specific next. They start questioning whether you even deserve the good thing you have. When healthy people see something beautiful happen in your life, their first reaction is simple. They look at your joy, they say, "That's amazing." They say, "Good for you." They say, "You deserve that." But jealous people often skip over your joy completely. They go straight to ownership, straight to money, straight to help, straight to whether you really earned it. How did you afford that? Did someone help you do that? These are two of the most common questions, and what makes them dangerous is that they sound so normal, practical, reasonable, harmless, almost too harmless to challenge. But listen more carefully. When someone asks how you got the money to buy something, they are not entering your joy. They are pulling your joy out of its place and putting it on a scale. They are turning your happiness into something that needs to be justified. And when someone asks whether someone helped you achieve something, many times they are not really curious about your journey. They are trying to find a side door into your success so they can quietly reduce how much of it belongs to you. That is why these questions hit so hard. They do not attack your win directly. They make you feel awkward standing next to it, and the trap closes fast. You say, "Oh, it wasn't that expensive. I just got lucky. It wasn't really a big deal. I had some help. It's nothing crazy." And in that exact moment, everything shifts. You are no longer just answering. You are shrinking your own win to make someone else feel more comfortable around it. That is why jealous people do not need to take your success away. They only need to make you feel a little embarrassed to fully own it. They only need you to stop standing upright inside your own joy. That's enough. The thing is still yours. The achievement still happened. The result is still real. But the energy of it has been reduced. And that is what they really wanted. They cannot stand the idea that you could have something beautiful and simply own it without apologizing. So your response here needs to be clean. Not aggressive, not fake cool, not defensive, just clean. "I worked for it. I built that myself. I'm proud of it. Thanks. I put a lot into that." And then stop. Do not keep talking. Do not make yourself smaller to sound humble. Do not hand extra information to someone who was never trying to lift you up. Because here is a truth a lot of people need to hear. People who are genuinely happy for you do not need you to justify your happiness. Only people who are uncomfortable with your light need your light to sound smaller. And if they can't make you feel ashamed of what you already have, they usually try something else. They start speaking into your future. This is where the next question shows up. Are you sure that's a good idea? That question sounds so harmless that most people never get their guard up. But this is one of the questions that quietly derails the most lives. Because open criticism is easier to spot. If someone says straight to your face that you'll fail, it's easier to feel resistance. It's easier to recognize that they are not really for you. But doubt wrapped in concern slides much deeper. You are excited. You are moving. You are about to walk through a new door. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to leave your job. Maybe you want to move cities. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel. Maybe you want to begin training, learn a new skill, end a toxic relationship, or live in a completely different way. And then someone tilts their head, looks at you with concern, and says, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Just one sentence. But if it hits the still fragile part of you, your whole motivation can drop instantly. Suddenly, you're seeing risk, questioning yourself, wondering whether you're being reckless, pulling back from the very decision that just a minute ago made you feel alive. This is where a lot of dreams die without anyone seeing blood. They do not die because life crushed them. They die because one seed of doubt was planted too early. Now pay attention to the difference between real care and jealousy pretending to care. A person who truly supports you helps you think more clearly. What's your plan? What do you need to prepare? What part feels most uncertain? How can I support you? A jealous person usually does something else. They do not help you get clearer. They help you feel less sure. They place fear in your chest and then leave you holding it. Why? Because your courage forces them to confront their own fear. Your willingness to move reminds them of everything they never dared to try. Your growth makes them feel still, and instead of being inspired by that, they try to pull you back to the ground with them. That's the sad part. A lot of people do not want you to fail because they hate you. They want you to slow down because your speed makes them uncomfortable. So your answer here does not need to be long. Yes, I'm sure. I've thought it through. This matters to me. I'd rather try than spend my life wondering what if. That is enough. You are not required to turn someone else's fear into a review board for your future. If you have ever felt your momentum drop because one doubtful sentence landed right in the middle of your excitement, type 1" the comments, because learning how to protect your momentum is one of the most important skills for living a life that other people do not quietly steer for you. But then things go even deeper, because once you are not just planning change, but actually becoming different, people are no longer only uncomfortable with your plans, they become uncomfortable with who you are becoming. This is where the issue shifts, from what you have and what you're about to do to who you are. Who do you think you are? You've changed. You're not like you used to be. It sounds like an observation, like feedback, like someone simply pointing out a fact. But many times, what they really mean is this: I'm not comfortable with the newer version of you. Why? Because the older version was easier. Easier to guilt, easier to predict, easier to influence, easier to please, easier to lean on, easier to use. Then you changed. You started setting boundaries. You stopped laughing off disrespect. You stopped over-explaining just to be understood. You started choosing yourself, taking care of your appearance, speaking more clearly, moving with more calm, becoming less easy to throw off balance. And immediately, the people who benefited from the old version of you start reacting. This is where so many people get confused. They think others are uncomfortable because they became worse. No. Many times, people are uncomfortable because you are becoming healthier. Healthier in your mind, healthier in your boundaries, healthier in your sense of self. And a person who got used to you being small, soft, available, and easy to bend will experience your growth as a threat. That is why, when you stand taller, they call you arrogant. When you speak more clearly, they call you different. When you stop allowing people to walk through you, they call you difficult. But here's the truth bomb a lot of people need to hear. Not every change is betrayal. Some changes are simply healing. And sometimes when someone says, "You've changed," what they actually miss is not the old you. What they miss is the old access they had to that version of you. That is why your response here does not need to be defensive. Yes, I have changed. I'm growing. I like who I'm becoming. I'm not going back to the old version of myself. That kind of answer is powerful because it does one thing. It shows that you are not confused about your own evolution. You know what you're doing. You know why you changed, and you are not ashamed of it. Jealous people hate that kind of certainty because once you stop doubting your own growth, they lose their chance to pull you backward. But when they can't drag you back into your old self, they usually try one more strategy, a more subtle one. They stop saying, "You've changed," and start making you feel like you're too much. This part hurts because it often shows up right when you're happiest. You post something you're proud of. You share a milestone. You show up looking better. You laugh louder. You speak with more energy. You're brighter. You stop hiding that your life is going well. And then someone says, "Isn't that a bit much? Do you really need to post that? Why do you need so much attention? Don't you think you're overdoing it?" This is a very sharp move because it doesn't directly insult you. It makes you start insulting yourself. Now you're not just enjoying your life. Now you're checking yourself. Am I talking too much? Posting too much? Being too confident? Too visible? Too happy? Too alive? And just like that, your light does not get shut down by force. It gets shut down by embarrassment. That's why this works so well. It doesn't need to turn you off completely. It only needs you to lower your own brightness. But the real question here is, too much for who? Too much for the person who was more comfortable when you were smaller? Too much for the person who gets uncomfortable when someone else is fully at ease, being themselves? Too much for the person who cannot handle that you no longer ask permission to be happy? People who truly love you will never ask you to become smaller just to make them more comfortable. They will not turn your joy into a social mistake. They will not frame your light as a problem simply because they don't know what to do with their own darkness. But jealous people do. They call your confidence performative. They call your self-celebration bragging. They call your full presence too much. Not because you are actually too much, but because you are brighter than what they know how to tolerate. So, remember this carefully. You are not too much. You are just becoming harder to dim. And sometimes, the strongest response is the simplest one. I'm just being myself. I'm happy. I like this. I'm not going to apologize for my joy. That's it. No guilt, no shrinking, no turning yourself into a flatter version just to make other people more comfortable swallowing you. If someone has ever made you feel embarrassed for being happy, glowing, confident, proud, or alive, type 1" the comments, because a lot of people have lost years of their life learning how to stop apologizing for their own light. But even this is not the deepest layer, because the most dangerous thing about all these questions is not the question itself. It is what happens right after. This is the most important part of the whole video, because the question itself is not their win. Their win is your reaction. They win when you start scrambling. They win when you over-explain. They win when your voice begins to sound guilty. They win when you downplay your success. They win when you apologize for being happy. They win when you make yourself smaller before they even need to do it. That is the real mechanism. The question is just the bait. Your reaction is the food. That is why the strongest person in these moments is not always the one with the smartest comeback. It is the one who no longer feels they need to prove the legitimacy of their life to everyone. They understand something simple. Not everyone deserves access to their inner world. So when one of these questions comes up, you need to do 4 things. First, pause. That pause matters more than you think, because between their question and your reaction is where the power lives. If you react immediately, they drive. If you pause, you drive. Second, read the motive, not just the words. Don't only ask, what did they say? Ask, how do I feel after they said it? Lifted or reduced? Clearer or tighter? Third, answer briefly, not cold, not sarcastic, not preachy, just brief. Short answers, keep your power sealed. Long explanations, leak it. And fourth, close the door there. Do not hand them extra information. Do not keep talking, in the hope that they will finally understand you. Do not turn someone who is fishing for your insecurity into someone you are trying to emotionally win over. No, some people are not confused. They are fishing. Fishing for explanation, fishing for self-doubt, fishing for the moment. They get to watch you disconnect from yourself. And the moment you see that clearly, You stop trying to win these moments by being nicer, more reasonable, more easy to understand. You start winning by staying still. By letting your calm say, "I know what this is, and I'm not playing." That is when the balance really changes. Because the moment you no longer need everyone to approve of your joy, your choices, your pace, your identity, or your growth, jealous people lose most of their power over you. And by this point, there is really only one question left. Not the question they ask you. The question you have to learn to ask yourself. This is the strongest filter you can build, because two people can ask almost the exact same question and still be coming from completely different places. A person who truly supports you may still question you sometimes. They may still challenge you, still tell you the truth, still ask hard things. But after the conversation, you feel clearer, steadier, calmer, more like yourself. A jealous person can also sound soft, polite, curious, concerned. But after they speak, you feel the opposite. You feel deflated. You feel the need to explain. You feel strangely embarrassed. You feel like your joy needs to apologize just to stay in the room. That is the difference. Supportive people make you stand taller. Jealous people make you start folding inward. Supportive people ask to understand you. Jealous people ask so that you will begin to doubt yourself. Supportive people do not need you to become smaller for them to feel bigger. Jealous people often do, and once you start seeing people through that lens, a lot of confusion disappears. You stop confusing fake concern with real love. You stop believing that every question deserves a fully sincere answer. You stop handing pieces of your confidence to people who never intended to protect it. You also stop taking jealousy personally, because jealousy is not a verdict on your value. It is a reflection of tension inside the other person. Your joy reminds them of what they don't have. Your courage reminds them of what they don't dare to do. Your confidence reminds them of the part of themselves they abandoned a long time ago. That is their problem, not yours. Your job is to root deeper, to stop apologizing for your growth, to stop shrinking yourself after every harmless comment, to stop translating your life into a more comfortable version for people who were never planning to celebrate you anyway. So the next time someone asks you something right after a win, a step forward, a change, or a truly happy moment, don't just hear the words, hear the energy under them. And ask yourself this: is this person truly happy for me? Or are they quietly trying to make me smaller? That one question alone can save you from losing years of your life trying to become a smaller version of yourself for other people's comfort. And here is the final twist. Once you really learn how to see people this way, you do not become colder. You also do not become paranoid. You simply become clearer. You do not stop shining. You just stop handing the light switch to other people. And if you want to keep building a version of yourself that is harder to manipulate, harder to diminish, harder to guilt, and less driven by the need to make everyone comfortable, subscribe now. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video where we keep building stronger thinking, deeper emotional control, and respect that starts from the inside out.